Hi, I'm Leonard Clement. I believe that men have been taking active steps to support gender equality. We should challenge the traditional gender roles that limit both men and women.
Hello, I'm Ian, and for 22, I believe that men are beginning to break free from rigid gender roles, and men have a big role to play in promoting gender equality.
Hi, I'm Zhan Ning, counterclaim 1, and I argue that while men trying to be helped, they still benefit from gender-based privilege. Women are still underrepresented in leadership and continue to face barriers in education and economic opportunities.
I'm Adrina, counterclaim 2, and I believe that men have not done enough. While some men are advocates, the majority are still holding on to the traditional power, and the system that oppresses women remain largely in place.
Now, let's set the stage for today's debate. Our claim comes from Leonard and Ian, who argue that men have not abandoned gender equality. They believe men are stepping out, challenging stereotypes, and playing an important role in advocating for gender equality. The counterclaim presented by Zhan Ning and Adrina mentioned that men still benefit from societal privileges and have not done enough to ensure gender equality. Women continue to face barriers in education, leadership, and in everyday life.
I want to start by saying that gender roles are now deeply ingrained in the society. But now, men are beginning to break out of these roles. For years, women were expected to be the primary caregivers, while men were the breadwinners. But I have seen firsthand how men are now supporting the women in both the workplace and at home. It's time we push for equal opportunities for all.
Life is good for single mother Laura Wellington. She lives in a big house with her children and has a successful career.
What would you like? Can you go in here?
But back in 2002, her life was turned upside down when her husband died of cancer, leaving her with 4 children to raise. She has since had another child with a man she recently divorced.
It was tough. It was really tough.
Laura inherited a bit of money, which helped, but she knew it wouldn't last forever.
Then I was frightened about every penny, and so, that certainly drove me to make sure that my kids could, go to school.
The self-described entrepreneur says she worked tirelessly to turn around the 2 failing businesses she inherited. But her big break came when she founded a children's television show called The Wumblers.
Come on, let me show you around.
Laura says her annual income is now roughly $350,000, a success story by most standards.
Exactly. Men should no longer be confined to traditional roles. When men become caregivers, they share domestic duties that opens up more opportunities for women to advance in their career, and that act itself is a form of equality.
While I agree men can be advocates, we must also address the imbalance of power. For instance, in countries like Afghanistan, where girls were recently banned from school, the fight for gender equality is still not prioritized by men in positions of power.
I understand your point, counterclaim 1, but this issue is far more complex than simply blaming men. Yes, Afghanistan is a tragic example, but it's not a representative of men globally. And in fact, in many countries, men are actively fighting for gender equality. Whether it's in the workplace, politics, or education, we cannot let the actions of extremists define all men. Many men are standing up for women's rights in every sector.
Claim 1. The economic inequality as well concerning women a lot. Women are still being paid less than men for the same work. Yes, some men are taking a stand, but in many parts of the world, this issue is still widespread. Even in countries where progress has been made, like Iceland, which has been actively trying to close the gender pay gap, men need to lead by example. Iceland's efforts are commendable, but men in other parts of the world have yet to truly take these steps.
Counterclaim 2. I understand the concern about the gender pay gap, but let's not ignore the significant progress that has been made. Men are speaking out in support of equal pay too. We see countries where men are contributing to the solution. Yes, we still have work to do, but men are actively driving the change, not just women.
Claim 2. In countries like Yemen, girls are still being forced into marriage. This is a blatant violation of their rights. Where are the men standing up against this? We see no real effort from the men in these regions to change these harmful practices.
Counterclaim 1. I agree this is a serious issue, but I think we need to acknowledge the efforts of men who are advocating for change. Yes, we need more action in regions like Yemen, but men in many countries are pushing for laws and reforms to protect girls from forced marriage. In many communities, men are fighting for girls' education and their right to choose their partners. We cannot overlook the work that is being done in these areas.
Thanks everyone. To make real progress, men must step up in the following ways. First, men must challenge traditional gender roles by sharing responsibility, be it at home or in the workplace. Men should be an active participant in caregiving, allowing women to pursue careers and personal goals without limitation. Second, men need to advocate for equal pay for equal work. This isn't just a woman issue. It is a societal issue that men must also address by ensuring fair compensation for everyone. Lastly, men should use their position of powers to support women in leadership roles. Encouraging women in business, politics, or even other decision-making areas is a key to create a balanced society.
Ultimately, men need to continue supporting gender equality, not just as allies, but as leaders of change. We need to challenge those stereotypes that restrict both genders.
And as men, we must continue to be vocal in promoting gender equality. If we really want to achieve a truly equal world, we have to push for changes that benefit both men and women.
But true change won't come unless men actively give up on their privileges and dismantle the systems that hold women back. It's not enough to be a passive ally.
Gender equality will only be achieved when men and women are equally empowered, and that starts with dismantling the power structure that men currently hold.
Gender equality isn't just a goal, it's a movement. It's a call for all of us to act. This debate shows that while some men have begun to contribute to the cause, much more needs to be done.